Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Carmen and welcome to this new video. I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in April. I am aware it is the middle of May already. In fact, when I'm filming this, it's May 13th, a Monday evening. And I have no idea when I'll actually be able to upload it because we're in a new house, in case you can't tell by the background. And we don't have internet, and so trying to upload videos is a little bit of a problem right now. But the whole reason why this is late is because we were moving and I had gone to Georgia like the first week of May to visit family, and we got back 2 days later. We had to move, and so we've been trying to settle in here, all the things. So that's why we're late with this video, but better late than never. Most of the books that I will be talking about I read on my Kindle. I either borrowed them from the library or they were on Kindle Unlimited. And then the 2 physical books that I actually read, they're all still packed up. All of my books are still in boxes and my bookshelves are empty. So watch for that video coming later. I want to do a video of me organizing my bookshelves and putting all the books back into place and probably doing some rearranging, because we did buy a new bookshelf, which I'm so excited about because I feel like I'll have a little bit more room for my books and can actually organize them the way I want to organize them. So watch for that video coming soon. Hopefully this week, the end of the week. 2 videos in 1 week. Who am I? Wow. We're gonna try. No promises though. Yeah, so my daughter is already down for the night, hopefully. And my husband is working this evening. He started a summer job ish of umping the softball games in the league here in town, so yeah, that's where he is. And so I have a little bit of time this evening to hopefully get all of this done before he comes home, and hopefully my daughter doesn't wake up. We shall see. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I read 7 books in April. 3 of them being the final 3 books of the Ilian Chronicles by Jaye. So the first one that I finished was Exiles, which is book number 4 in the Ilian Chronicles. And I'm having a hard time. I tried filming this earlier. It was not working. My daughter was awake and there was just things going on today that I wasn't able to get this filmed earlier. But when I tried earlier, I was really struggling with how to talk about this book because it's number 4 in the series. How do you talk about it without giving spoilers in the series? And also in my brain, in my mind, I picture the entire story of the series, you know, from beginning to the end. And it's hard to like narrow it down to like what happened in the one specific book, if that makes sense, because it all kind of just flows together in my brain. So forgive me if I will not be explaining things very well. Because yeah, like I said, I don't want to give spoilers. So how do we talk about everything? Should I just give my rating and tell you guys to go read the books? Because you should read the books if you haven't read the books yet, because they're fantastic. That should be my review. That's it. No, I don't know how to talk about this. I think I'm just gonna give my ratings and that's it, and not give much details about what the books are. I think that'll just be easier because I don't want to spoil it. You guys should just go read the books, okay? We'll leave it at that. So book number 4 of the Ilian Chronicles, Exiles. I rated it 4 stars. I'm just gonna ask for help from all of you other booktubers who have read these series, and if you have better reviews and descriptions of what these books are about, link your videos down below and I'll pin the comments or something just to help people out, because your girl is struggling. It's also been a whole month since I've read the book, so I forget so many details, and like I said, all of the story just seems to flow together and mesh into one whole big story in my brain. So I apologize. I should maybe start taking notes while I'm reading books so that I can remember them and talk about them when I give my recaps. But I don't know if that's in my bandwidth right now. in the season that I'm in. But anyway, Exiles, I rated it 4 stars. Fantastic. Please read it. And then the second one that I read was Bitter Winter, which is book number 5 in the Ilian Chronicles. Listen, I was trying to get through this series because I needed to know what the ending was. And I'd been reading them for a while, clearly, because I feel like I've talked about them so much in every single video recently that I posted. Anyway, this is the shortest book of the series that I read, because I haven't read any of the novellas because I didn't even realize they existed, so that's my bad. I still need to read those, so I'm not even completely done with the series. But anyway, this is the shortest one, and in a way, it's my least favorite, but I don't even like saying that because I love all of the books. It's not like it was bad, but it's my least favorite in the sense that it's a really hard part of the overarching story of the entire Chronicles. So yeah, it's really tough. This one is Bitter Winter. And again, I don't want to give a synopsis because I don't want to give spoilers. Because you have to start from the beginning. Just please go read the books. But I highly recommend. I still rated this one 4 stars even though it was my least favorite of the series. And only because it was just really hard. They faced some really, the characters that I love so much just faced some really hard things in this book, and it broke my heart. So, yes. And then the third one that I completed, I'm just going in order of the ones that I actually finished. So, the third one that I finished is Hard Is Not the Same Thing as Bad by Abbie Halberstadt. Loved this one, 5 stars. I read it at a time that I needed it so much. Wow. There are just some really hard things that I faced as a new mom that I wasn't really prepared for. But reading this book and Abbie bringing out the points that hard is not always bad, but it's an opportunity for growth. Yeah. Wow. So many highlights in this story. Like I was highlighting so many things. I wish that I would have the book out, but it's in a box somewhere so that I could actually flip through it and read some quotes. Basically, the Lord used this book to bring encouragement to my slightly discouraged heart. Just facing some things in being a new mom and with breastfeeding, and then all of the information that is out there telling moms what to do, how to do things, some of it not working for me, and just being really frustrated with that. And then I guess maybe a little bit of postpartum anxiety of like, am I even being a good mom? Am I doing the things I should be doing for her? Am I harming her by not doing certain things? Like, will it hurt her in the future if I do it or I don't do it? You know, so many things. If you're a new mom, then I feel like you might understand what I mean. But yeah, all of the decisions, just everything. Basically, this book resonated with me a little bit more than her first book, M is for Mama, which I really loved. I rated that one 5 stars as well. But as far as the contents of the books, M is for Mama, I feel like would be one I will reference later when I have more children, Lord willing, and when my daughter is older. But like this one, I feel like it can tie into life in general, not just, yes, it is focused more on motherhood, but just any hard things in life that we face. Like seeing them as an opportunity for growth and not always just thinking it's a bad thing that we're facing just because it's hard. Yeah, I don't really know if I'm explaining it as well as she did in the book, so I would suggest just go reading it because I highly recommend it. It was just so good. It encouraged me, just on so many levels. Yeah. I don't even know how to explain it all, but there we go. And then the fourth book that I read. Okay, first off, pause. The next 4 books that I will be talking about are books that you will have seen if you watched my this video ends when I find a 5-star read video that I just posted. And I'll link it up here or down in the description in case you haven't seen it yet. Here's my reviews of those books, because I talked about them a little bit and my thought processes in that video, but as far as what all of the books were about, I didn't really go into it that much. But here are my reviews of those 4 books. And obviously if you've seen them, you will know what I rated them. But anyway, just putting it all into this one video. The 4th book that I read in April was Daican's Heir, the 6th book of the Ilian Chronicles. And if you watch that video, you know how much I struggled with knowing what I should rate this book, because yeah, it was so good. It really was. It was a great ending to the series. Yeah, there was just so many great things that happened for the characters, and I was so happy for after the up and down roller coaster emotions of the characters facing hard things and triumphing and then having another hard thing coming into their life. Wow, it was a lot. But I ended up rating it like 4.75, 4.8, like so close to 5 stars. It just wasn't quite there. Because it didn't, like, the only book in this whole series, which I've mentioned before, that I rated 5 stars was Samara's Peril. And that was because of just the feeling that it gave me, that it was just so good, and I loved having more of one of my favorite characters' story, and just like the redemption in his life. Jace is the character that I'm talking about. Yeah, like this one ended really well. And again, I'm having a hard time explaining why I still didn't give it 5 stars. It just didn't quite get there. And that's okay. I know so many other people rated it 5 stars because it was really good, and I can see why they did. But for me, it just didn't reach it. And it's like I was really relieved to finally be done with the series as well. So maybe it's kind of an unfair rating because I was pushing so hard to get through the series, and I probably didn't just take my time and sit with the story and just let it really seep in because I was reading it so fast. It deserves 5 stars. I see why it should, but that's not what I rated it. I might still give it 5 stars later on, but I have forgotten a lot of the details, trying to remember certain characters' names and stuff. I'm like, wait, what all actually did happen? And again, that might have been because I was reading it too fast. But this is a series that I will return to later, hopefully. And I want to own my own physical copies, because these are ones that I had borrowed on, or I had read from Kindle Unlimited. Yeah. So I want to own the actual series, and I want to get all of the novellas as well. Everything about this, because I love this world. I love what Jaye Knight did in like bringing in the faith elements in this world, and like the name God was not really used in the sense that like we refer to him as God in the books, that he was referred to as Elam, but he does represent the one true God that I believe in as a Christian. And in this world, in this country, it's illegal to believe in this God, and so like most of this story is just in this whole series is about the believers in Elam and their fight for freedom, fight to be able to worship who they want to worship, and just everything they faced in all of that, and the persecution and just the trials that they faced, and their faith being strengthened through all of it. Yeah, I loved that so much in this whole series. So yeah, all that to say, if I ever return to these books, maybe my ratings will change and they will all get 5 stars. Maybe they will drop a little bit. I don't see them dropping because they're just so good. But anyway, there's my review for Daican's Heir. And then the 5th book that I completed in April was A Castaway in Cornwall by Julie Klassen. So this one, I mentioned in the video that I had tried reading this book 2 or 3 years ago when it first came out. I had received it for a Christmas gift, and because I'd asked for it because everyone was reading it at the time, and I was really interested in the premise of it all, and just the whole plot line really intrigued me. But when I started reading it back then, I think I read or started just the first chapter. I don't even know if I finished the first chapter, but I was kind of bored. I had not read any of Julie Klassen's books before at that time. So yeah, I wasn't really sure if she was going to even be an author that I liked, but I just put it to the side because I was bored with it, and decided to pick it up later, and I finally picked it up last month, obviously. And this time around, I was really sucked into the story almost immediately. I loved it. There's a moth flying around in this room and around my lamp, and it keeps distracting me, and it's a pretty big moth. I'm like, why are you in my house? Anyway, what is this book about? I feel like I should just read the synopsis on Goodreads here because it explains it a lot better than I could. I'm struggling, y'all. I'm trying to do better at explaining what books are about, but I always think of all of these random details instead of just giving a brief description. But anyway, let me just read the synopsis for you. Set adrift on the tides of fate by the deaths of her parents and left wanting answers, Laura Calloway now lives with her uncle and his disapproving wife in North Cornwall. There she feels like a castaway, always viewed as an outsider even as she yearns to belong. While wreckers search for valuables along the windswept Cornwall coast, known for its many shipwrecks but few survivors, Laura searches for clues to the lives lost so she can write letters to the next of kin and return keepsakes to rightful owners. When a man is washed ashore after a wreck, Laura acts quickly to protect him from a local smuggler determined to destroy him. As Laura and a neighbor care for the survivor, they discover he has curious wounds, and, although he speaks in careful, educated English, his accent seems odd. Other clues wash ashore, and Laura soon realizes he is not who he seems to be. Despite the evidence against him, the mysterious man might provide her only chance to discover the truth about her parents' fate. With danger pursuing them from every side, and an unexpected attraction growing between them, will Laura ever find the answers she seeks? So, a dying man on the shore, and she rescues him and brings him back to health. Yeah. So obviously there is a romance that happens between them, and my battery's dying. Let me change it real quick. All right, there we go. So yes, that whole premise just really intrigued me, with her rescuing items on the shore, and then obviously what even is his name? Y'all, I don't even remember these details. Anyway, all that to say, I really enjoyed this story. With, yeah, Laura's endeavors to find the rightful owners of these keepsakes, and then the mystery around this man who she rescued, and the growing romance between them, but her hesitancy because she's not sure who he is and what he's been involved with, because there are some big question marks about his past. All the things, but I really enjoyed this one. I was surprised that I enjoyed it so much because of how, my first try with the book, it was just, I was not feeling it at the time, but I loved it. There were so many cute, sweet moments between them. It's not as heavy on the romance side of things as it was the main plot line and storyline of Laura finding out what happened to her parents, and yeah, I would recommend it. 4 stars. Okay, so then the next one that I picked up was Life Flight by Lynette Eason, and this is book 1 of the Extreme Measures series. I'm not sure how many are in the series actually, but yeah, so this one, wow. It is a suspense novel, thriller in a sense, I guess, maybe. But we follow Penny, who is an EMS helicopter pilot. And right away, opening chapter, you're diving right into the chaos of everything that's happening. She's in the middle of rescuing someone up on a mountain who was injured with the rest of her team. And there's a really bad storm that comes sweeping in, and it was already going on, and they were still told to go out in the storm, even though she knew the flying conditions were not great, but they had to go out and rescue this girl that was up on the mountain. But at the same time, a serial killer has escaped prison and he's on this mountain that she's on. So opening chapter, it's just boom, so much action, so much going on, and it's just really intense right away, which I normally love. I really enjoy suspense novels, thrillers, all of the things, because I do kind of have this weird obsession with true crime. I would listen to true crime podcasts. I have watched the show Criminal Minds. Yeah, I don't know. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I was all of a sudden like, you know what? I'm listening to these stories, and I know that the babies can hear things as well, and I don't really want to be filling her tiny little impressionable mind with the dark things of this world right away, you know? So I took a break from listening to true crime podcasts and watching the show and all of that. So when I got into this book, I was like thrust into this world again of crime and evil people and all of this stuff, and I was like, wow, clearly I'm not acclimated to it anymore, because this book, in all of the chaos and all of the scary things that were happening, it's not even as dark as some stories that I have heard. But it still kind of like shook me a little bit. And like I mentioned in my video, in the Finding a 5-star read, my heart was pounding a lot in some cases, and it kind of like unnerved me a little bit. And I didn't like being home alone at night. I was like, well, this is weird. I've not really like had those problems because like when I would listen to true crime, I kind of like could separate myself from it, because like I'm like, I know this is just a story. Yeah, these are true stories of real evil that's been happening, but I could kind of separate it from like my life, and it wouldn't really affect me, is what I'm trying to say. This one kind of affected me a little bit, but it's only because I haven't been like reading these kinds of things in a while. So, and it's not, to me, like, this isn't even that intense of a story. There are some intense situations, but compared to some of the stories that I have heard, it's not even that bad. So I don't know how to tell you if like this is a book for you or not, based on that, like on the scariness level. But basically, all that to say, Penny becomes the serial killer's next potential victim. It's just like the whole serial killer, like sometimes you get his point of view in the book. Just creepy, and yeah, the minds of these people, it's heartbreaking, because you know that their brains, their mind, their souls are just broken, and they're just evil, and yeah. Anyway, I ended up rating this book 4 stars. It was really fun, really interesting, and I do actually want to continue the series eventually. There is a little bit of romance in this book as well, but I wasn't quite as interested in that storyline as much as the like them capturing the serial killer and like just figuring out all of those things. Partly because it was like immediately you knew that they liked each other, but there was history. I mentioned this already in that video as well, but I don't love insta-love. And so this one is technically insta-love, but there was history for the two main characters, the FBI agent who is on the case, and Penny, there was history between them that's just like prior to this book and the story. So I let it go this time because there was history that we just didn't read about. It was just briefly mentioned. Yeah, I didn't really connect with the characters all that much. Again, I was just more interested in the serial killer being caught and like that whole aspect of the story. But yeah, I still enjoyed it, and like I said, I want to continue the rest of the series. I think this was my first Lynette Eason book, but yeah, I enjoyed it enough that I will try out some more of her books. But yes, I do recommend if you enjoy suspense, thrillers, exciting books, and it was, like I said, very fast-paced, and you just are shoved right into the heart of the story, and it's go 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 from chapter 1. And finally, the final book that I read in April. I literally finished it on the last day of April. But that one is Recorder by Cathy McCrumb. Book number 1 in the Children of the Consortium series. Yeah. This book. I don't even know how to talk about it, okay? Number 1, I'm not a sci-fi girly. I don't know, it's probably more just because I haven't really tried a lot of sci-fi, but it just never really interested me from like most books that I've heard people mention. I don't know. But everyone who I saw reading Recorder here on BookTube was raving about it, rating it 5 stars, and I was just like, okay, I'm really curious. I want to know what this book is about and what the hype is about. But y'all, it lived up to the hype. So good. Wow. I think they call it sci-fi with heart. Yeah, wow. I went into this book not knowing a whole lot about it, like not even really knowing what the world was, what the premise was, which was a good thing. And I'm going to try not to give too many descriptions or too many details about the story, because I feel like people should just go in not knowing anything about this book and just being sucked into the world, because it's, wow, it's just so good, so good. But basically, we follow Recorder. She was donated to the consortium, as all other recorders in this world are. When her mom was carrying her in the 3rd trimester, they are donated to the consortium, and then they are implanted with a chip of some sort, and are raised to only be recorders. So they record all the information, and this is on the back of the book in the synopsis, but basically they are trained to not really have emotions or bias. Basically all of their humanness is just stripped away, which is really sad. But we follow this specific recorder. She's on a mission, things go awry, and the story goes from there. Yeah, but the friendships in this book, the way Recorder finds herself in a way, like rediscovers her identity as a human and who God created her to be, which, by the way, this is a Christian sci-fi, but the faith is very subtle, but I loved the aspects that were brought in all of its subtleness, because I feel like people who don't really read Christian sci-fi could pick this up and really enjoy it, but like the message would still be there, which I think is brilliant. But yeah, wow. Just all of the emotions. If you're like me and are hesitant to read sci-fi because you're not sure if you're going to like it or not, I'm pretty sure you will like this book. The ending, you can just go watch the video that I keep talking about, because the ending, it shook me. I wanted to cry. I still remember certain quotes in this book. It's just a beautiful book. I was just so invested in the story and in the characters. All of it, all of the little details. And the sci-fi part of the story is actually pretty easy to understand. It took me a little bit to get into the world building, to truly understand how things worked and who the recorders were, but it didn't take too long, and then after that, like, it felt pretty easy to understand what was going on, all of this. But yes, I highly recommend this book, and I definitely went and checked my library to see if they had the second book on hand, and they did, and I downloaded it, and I am already reading it, and it picks up right where Recorder leaves off, and I'm already invested into that one as well, because you kind of do want the next book ready, because yeah, that ending is just like, wow, rip your heart up and put it back together. Yeah, it just really surprised me how much I love this one, but I'm a fan. I am a huge fan, and I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. Even if you don't like sci-fi, I highly recommend this book. It's so good. So, so good. I borrowed it from the library, and I will hopefully eventually own the physical copies, because I want to go back and highlight things. I want to go back and reread certain sections. My heart. Like, I'm pretty sure I've thought about this book and the story every day since I finished it. No lie. It has now become my Roman Empire. But anyway, I gotta stop rambling, or it's gonna keep going on and on. But please, if you have not read Recorder yet, and you've heard about it and you've been thinking about it, here's another sign. You need to read it. Anyway, there are the books that I read in April. Let me know if you have read any of these books, which I know I know most of you have read at least some of these books, because I got these recommendations from you guys. So yeah, there we go. But either way, if you've read them, let me know your thoughts as well on them, and if you haven't read them, which one of these you're most interested in reading. Let's just chat about books in the comments below. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. The final book. Wow. Oh, we're gonna start that over. Okay.